Yeah, as you say, European Commission invests billions on research and innovation, and selecting the best projects proposal that we mentioned at the beginning. And I think this is an excellent way to boost research and to boost innovation and also the deployment of innovation. The model of the European Commission is to incentivize the collaboration. So that's very important. So incentivize the collaboration between different actors and stakeholders, so that when you develop a solution or a service, whatever is the scope of your project, you have to consider all the players, and then you start bringing together the industry that develops this technology that you need, but also the research center or the university with huge knowledge on the specific topic. But also you need to collaborate with another industry, because this other industry is doing complementary component or solution for you. And then you need to collaborate, in our case, in the transport, you need to collaborate with an operator, maybe, that is operating a service that you want, that is using the technology. And then you want to have also the involvement of the city, because this technology and the service is deployed in the city. And then you need the involvement of the authority that will receive this service in their city. And you may need startups, and you may need the representative of these stakeholders, like associations and representative of the users. And this mix, this cocktail of different stakeholders and actors brings the innovation.
Welcome to the Mobility Innovators Podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Mobility Innovators Podcast. I'm your host Jaspal Singh. Mobility Innovators Podcast invite key innovators in the transportation and logistics sector to share their experience and future forecasts. In this episode, we'll be discussing about autonomous mobility and how it's reshaping our city. Our today's guest is Managing Director of PAVE Europe. PAVE is a partner for automated vehicle education, a coalition for industry, non-profit, academic institution with one goal: to inform the public about the automated vehicle and their potential. Prior to joining PAVE Europe, he was working as a co-director of knowledge and innovation at UITP. He's an expert in digitalization, mobility as a service, automated road transport, and Internet of Things. With 20 years of experience, he was involved in many EU projects, including space, shared personalized automated connected vehicle, AUTOPILOT, automated driving, progress by Internet of Things, IMOVE, focusing on mobility as a service in Europe, and then Galileo for mobility, fostering the adoption of Galileo for MaaS. I'm so happy to welcome my good friend, Guido di Pasquale, Managing Director of PAVE Europe. It's now time to listen and learn. Hello, Guido. It's great to have you on the show and learn from your experience.
Hello, Jaspal. Thank you for inviting me. It's a real pleasure for me to be here with you.
It's great to have you back as a good friend and as a mentor, I would say. So today I'll be spending time getting to know more about you, about your new role at PAVE Europe, and also your thought on upcoming trend in the mobility sector, because you have worked a lot in Europe, as well as now you're doing amazing work with the autonomous mobility. Now, I saw your LinkedIn profile and I was quite surprised to find some unknown things about you, because I never knew that you are a software developer in past and now you work as a transport expert. So it's quite rich, but I would still ask you to share some interesting fact about your career that you still hiding from the world and you haven't put on the LinkedIn.
Thank you for the question, Jaspal. As you say, I had a previous life in my career. It's the LinkedIn profile is quite rich. I put everything there, but there are some aspects that I enjoyed very much, and it was amazing for me now that I think of it. Like when I was a software developer, I spent months, for example, in commissioning of a plant for the storage of radioactive material. So I spent months in this area with radioactive material. So I was also scared somehow, going every day there. But and anytime there was a mistake or something to correct, people had to wear all this, you know, like you are in the space, clothes. Protective clothes, and you have to redo everything from scratch. So it was quite. Well, it was a very nice experience, and I'm happy to have started with this type of experience. Then when I moved to the transport sector, and something that probably is hidden and that I like very much was this job on bids and proposal management, because this was giving the opportunity to be creative and to develop ideas for projects and to start building. My sector was ITS, so Intelligent Transport System. So I was thinking about possible architecture for the different solutions and the components, but also the partnership. So who should we involve in this? Do we need a university? Do we need this supplier, this other supplier? And then bringing all together and create a proposal, a project proposal that can have an impact on business impact and also on the society, and that can be accepted by the client or by European Commission or whatever. So that was very nice. And also, I would like to mention when I joined, when at UITP time, let's say my UITP period, I liked very much the period when I had to work with my team and with the team at UITP, and moving from the development of projects and the management of projects to mentoring the team and to support them and to be with them and try to solve issues and help them to grow. This part I like very much. Maybe it's not what you can perceive from a CV.
No, that's great. But in fact, I can vouch for that. Like you mentioned, your time at UITP. So one thing I just want to share that we still miss you. We are already missing you. So you're doing great in your career. So that's why we are happy. But otherwise, we are sad that you left. But at the same time, like you mentioned, you love to mentor, and that's why I said in the beginning that you are one of the mentor to me as well. I learned a lot of good things. Project management, proposal management, and also the technical side of handling the project. So you did a lot of work in there. Now, following on to my previous question, so like I mentioned, you started your career as a software developer. You worked there. In fact, one of the projects you mentioned on your LinkedIn profile, which is very interesting, it's a automatic machine for the assembly of washing machine drum. So and radioactive materials. Yes. So you do so many crazy stuff in your previous role. And then you started your career as an innovation and project manager in consulting firm and start focusing on ITS and AFCS. And then you joined UITP, you grew internally and recently joined PAVE Europe as a managing director. One thing I want to learn is like, what led you to shift your career from a software developer to a innovation manager? Because you were doing great. What was the moment when you decided, okay, this is enough and I want to do something into innovation? And also one of the reasons, like you were doing great in public transportation in UITP, why did you move and join PAVE Europe? So what was the reason of these career transition? Because I think these are the big career transition in your life, moving from software developer to UI, the innovation role, and then now UITP to PAVE. So what led you to do that?
It was not easy. I mean, as engineer, I wanted to do some technical stuff. So after graduation, I wanted to work in the field that I study. It was automation. So I started to look for some jobs around automation. I like the robotics and this type of stuff. So I found this job, and I liked very much to be in the field and to put my finger, let's say, in these tools and this software. So experience also the excitement of seeing a system working. So that was very exciting. And when you do it with a team, it's teamwork. So you are even more excited, because at the end, everyone plays a different role, and at the end you see the final result all together, and it was great. But at some point there is things happened in life, and things and other things you try to steer. And I also believe in change. So the change gives you the opportunity to grow, and to also to do something different that gives you new perspectives. So yeah, I'm not really planning to change, or that I have a timeline for changing, but I perceive the moment when it's time to change, and that at that time I say, okay, I did enough on the field. Now I need to do something at higher level, and something where I can design and also work on some sort of strategy, and look at the future. So look at innovation, research, and what is possible to do if we look ahead. So that's and the transport and mobility gave me this opportunity. So from one side, it was said to leave the automation sector, but from the other side, moving to the transport and mobility gave me the opportunity to work in the innovation and in research, and then I started there. Then after a few years in this field, I liked so much, and I was also in contact with UITP, because UITP is a leader in research and innovation, and it was quite natural for me to move from this previous company to UITP, to have even a more higher level view, and to also to have, UITP offers the possibility to work and engage and be in contact with a huge network, and to be in contact with the authorities and operators and industries. So it's the next level or layer of abstraction, or of where you can really work on innovation and strategy. So that was I think a milestone for me, moving to ATP. And then you said about the last move, joining PAVE Europe. Maybe we talk about that later. It was like also for me a natural move. It was I was looking for something that I could build by myself, but of course with the help of those who are working with me and the members that founded this new association. But a new challenge that could give me the possibility to use all the experience that I gained over the years, and to build something new, and of course in the field that I like, which is transport and automation. So now I'm combining the two.
So it's a full circle of life. You started from automation and robotics, went to transport, and now you're back into automation.
Exactly. Closing the loop.
It's a loop of life. And I really love your line about that change give you opportunity to grow. So change is very important in life. So if you are not changing, because we are changing every day, but you need to adapt to that change, and it's an opportunity to grow. I love that line. I'll use it everywhere now. So
it's a mindset,
it's
it's a mindset. You need to
it's a mindset. It's a growth mindset to change. And now you mentioned about you're back into automation, and you're working with PAVE as a managing director for PAVE Europe. Those who don't know, PAVE is a partner for automated vehicle education, which is quite interesting. So why don't you share a little more about the organization, what PAVE is doing, what is its mission? In fact, I saw they have a PAVE Canada also, so they are expanding,
Yeah.
and how this organization is looking to make a big impact in autonomous mobility. Would love to know
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. PAVE stands for Partners for Automated Vehicle Education. So education is the key word here. Well, this is starting from studies and over studies that have shown that the biggest hurdle for the adoption of autonomous vehicles, automated mobility, is okay. Regulation can be technology, but the biggest hurdle is the people, the acceptance of the people of this technology. And maybe it was the same for other technologies in the past, but in this case, trust of people to this technology is very important. And to build this trust, it is very important that people understand the technology. So if they understand, they trust it, and if they trust it, they start to use it. And if they start to use it, at the end, what happens is that innovation comes, because you start trusting and using a new technology, and the new technology can bring you to the unknown, or to new services, or to new application, like it happens with the internet, or because you start trusting this. So PAVE and PAVE Europe, so I'm representing PAVE Europe here, is a non-profit association, a coalition of organizations, industries, startups, non-profit, public sector. So every organization that has an interest on automated mobility, with the scope of educating the public opinion. So I wouldn't say the users, but the public, everyone, because everyone will be concerned about this technology.
Yeah.
And the public sector, of course, the authorities and the cities and the national ministries and departments. So it's it has, let's say, two beliefs mainly. One is that we believe that automated mobility can really improve road safety and sustainability and mobility efficiency. Okay, this, I think we can agree on this. The second belief is that we need users to understand that and accept this to progress and to move forward. Because, and the reason why this group of amazing organizations, as stakeholders, wanted to create PAVE is because they believe that this should be done together. So everyone should contribute to this, because you can compete on the services, on the technology, but you cannot compete against misinformation or against misunderstanding, and then the non-accepted technology. So that's that's the main mission, and I'm happy to have joined this, because I personally like this technology, and I believe that this technology can really improve our mobility system. I mean, I'm not talking about the vehicle, I'm talking about the mobility system.
I fully agree with you. In fact, if you look at any technology adoption, there is always some resistance. In fact, when the mobile were launched, there were a lot of resistance. Nobody thought how these small devices can change our life. Nobody predicted 10 years back that our camera, our video, our phone, our notebook, our reminder, our television, our entertainment, our connection, everything will be in just one device, which will be carry. And with so much of memory, you can carry unlimited number of memory with you now with the cloud computing and all. So nobody thought. And same way, I think with autonomous mobility, we still not sure how it will change our life in future, because
Yes.
we just have scratched the surface. So moment we
Yes.
have those kind of opportunity available, then we will realize that how our life will be completely changed in future. So I agree
Yep.
with you. There's a lot of work required on the education side and make people ready for that.
Just I mentioned surveys and studies, but just 2 or 3 days ago was released a new study showing that only the 27% of the global population would accept or believe that this technology is safe.
27%.
27%. So yeah,
So there is
work
lot of work
for education for
there's
PAVE.
a lot of work. There's a lot of work. No, I in fact, the study which you are mentioning, in fact, I get a chance to see that. And you rightly mentioned one of the biggest challenge for autonomous mobility is not the regulation, technology, or infrastructure. It's about the user perception and confidence. And the study you're, I think, mentioning is about this JD Power US Mobility Confidence Index,
Yeah.
and which was
Yeah.
done in partnership with PAVE. And there is a low confidence of people. Basically, consumers show very low level of readiness to accept or riding in a fully automated or self-driving vehicle and using fully automated or self-driving public transit. I mean, we can travel in a automated train, but it's still not clear for us how we will be traveling in an automated bus or a self-driving bus. So how do you see that autonomous mobility industry can overcome this challenge, and will city or authority have any role to play in this area?
Well, for sure, it's very important that the cities and the authorities are involved in this introduction of this technology. I mean, they are also the ones directly connected to the citizens. So yeah, and they are also the organizers of the mobility in the cities. So it is very important that they participate, and they participate in partnership with the private sector to make these campaigns. And in fact, I hope that we will get in Europe this engagement and this involvement of the public sector and the authorities and transport authorities that can help us in engaging with the public, with the users and other type of users, so that we can not only create the framework for their understanding, but also to co-create with the citizens and co-create with them the services that are needed. I like very much one of the major transport providers said that we don't need to adapt the services to the technology, but we need to adapt to the technology to the services, and the services are for the end users, and for that we need the authorities to help.
I love your point about co-creation, that city and government and authority need to co-create with the industry. You can't do it alone, neither the industry nor the city or authority. And you need to adopt the services to the technology, not other way around, because I mean, it's part of a change management. If you never change with the new technology, even if I give you a smartphone and you still use it just to make call, and you don't change yourself to access the internet or to access any web browser or any app, it means you are not fully potentially using the full potential of the technology. So it means it doesn't matter whether you have a 1G or 5G, because you are still using in the same old fashioned way.
Yes. And if you don't learn to use it when at the beginning, then you will never use it. There is a curve, and you use it at the beginning, or you forget.
Or you will drop out and you will not use the full potential. Now, one of the important point which you mentioned, and you actually work in Europe for past 2 decades, and one of the key role for you was to work a lot with EU Commission and European Commission on a lot of projects. Generally, Europe, everybody see Europe as a role model for public transport system. It has world's best public transport system or infrastructure. and big credit goes to the city and state because they invest in these services. But there is one more secret ingredient which I feel, because I also closely work in this area, is which people not fully aware of, is the role played by the mobility and transport division of European Commission, because the department invests a lot of money in research and pilot project in different region, and you were part of a lot of these projects. UITP is one of the largest player who is conducting a lot of these pilot and project on behalf of EU Commission. Can you share a little more about the EU Commission model, how EU Commission model work, and other point is what other countries and region can learn from it? Because I see a lot of countries are investing in transportation and mobility, but they are not still able to reach the full benefit of it. Like I know in North America, the government of Canada, Transport Canada is investing, FTA is investing in US. Then in Asia, a lot of cities are investing, but they're still not able to bring out the new technique and technology forward. So what we can learn from Europe?
Yeah, as you say, European Commission invests billions on research and innovation, and selecting the best projects proposal that we mentioned at the beginning. And I think this is an excellent way to boost research and to boost innovation, and also the deployment of innovation. The model of the European Commission is to incentivize the collaboration. So that's very important. And so incentivize the collaboration between different actors and stakeholders, so that when you develop a solution or a service, whatever is the scope of your project, you have to consider all the players, and then you start bringing together the industry that developed this technology that you need, but also the research center or the university with a huge knowledge on the specific topic. But also you need to collaborate with another industry, because this other industry is doing complementary component or solution for you. And then you need to collaborate. In our case, in the transport, you need to collaborate with an operator, maybe that is operating a service that you want, that is using the technology. And then you want to have also the involvement of the city, because this technology and the service is deployed in the city, and then you need the involvement of the authority that will receive this service in their city. And you may need startups, and you may need be a representative of these stakeholders, like associations and representative of the users. And this mix, this cocktail of different stakeholders and actors brings the innovation, because not only brings the possibility to exchange ideas, because, especially in Europe, we are very diverse in terms of cultural and culture, and also the way we work and the different states. But in this way, you give the possibility to exchange, and also to have to exchange between universities, so you grow your research, and also to compare what is happening in one city and in another city, why this service is working in this city, but isn't. Can this service also work in these other cities, or in the north you have specificities because of the weather or because of the geographical context, and then this gives really the opportunity to advance. And the European Commission is funding this, because of course they want to support the European industry, because at the end it's a way to advance the industry, putting money to lower the risk, the financial risk of these companies, because they receive financial support for research, which is, you don't know what the results will be. So they are covering partially these financial risks for research and innovation. And I think that this model works very well and gives also the opportunity to many young people to learn and to be in contact with their peers in other cities, in other universities, in other industries. So it's the way to grow. And this could be, I don't know if this could be replicated in other regions like South America or in North America or in Asia, but it's a model I think that is really working in Europe, especially because our history, we are coming from different histories in our continent, and we speak also different languages. So it's a model that is contributing a lot to build the European Union.
I think you share some of the very interesting point, because I never thought from that point of view. One is that you're not giving money to these companies for selling the product, but supporting their R&D. So in a case, you are advancing them. Like a lot of cities, what they do is they're just giving them money or subsidize their product. But instead of subsidizing their product, you subsidize their cost and reduce their financial risk, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And the second point, which you also mentioned, because I see a lot of demonstration projects happen in US or in Canada, but they are very city specific or the province specific. But the challenge is you never have a chance to learn from each other. I mean, there are more than 50 states in US, and they get funding and they work in silo. But this is a model where people can exchange learning with each other. The universities can collaborate, the industry can collaborate, and then operator can collaborate with each other and learn and exchange and share why it can work in one geography and why it will not work in other geography, which is quite interesting. I never thought from that point of view. So thanks for sharing that. I think what you said is right bang on.
And what the European Commission asks in return is sharing.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's of course deployment of what you promise in your proposal, but it's also sharing the results. And this is the way to advance in research at European level, because you are sharing your results, and then you can see if this can be transferred to other contexts. And because this is funded by public money, by taxpayer, it's important that results are shared. Of course, what can be shared, what is not confidential.
Which is great, because then you don't need to repeat the cycle. The other city can learn from what being done in other city and deployment. Now you work on a lot of EU Commission project. I can name like 10 or 15 project you work. So you were so busy. I know every week you were busy in making a new proposal. And I also know now you declare your first love is automation, but your second love, which a lot of people don't know, is MaaS, mobility as a service. That's something very close to your heart. And one of the projects you did for MaaS was IMOVE, which was basically aimed to accelerate the deployment and unlock the scalability of MaaS scheme in Europe. And like you said, every project is pan-Europe, so different city. And that project was also implemented in 4 cities. The pilot were done in Berlin, Gothenburg, Manchester, and Turin. There was a lot of hype about MaaS. Everybody was predicting that MaaS will change everything, and we will. And I remember when we used to have discussion about IMU project, we were predicting that MaaS will be a big thing in next 4-5 years. But everything fizzled out. Now my question is, because you work in this space very closely, you saw these 4 cities, you saw a lot of other projects happening in MaaS. What did we miss? Like why MaaS was not able to pull it off? And secondly, is it still possible to get it right? Do you think it's still possible to make MaaS work in Europe and outside Europe?
Yes, MaaS is close to my heart. It's no, it's because when I started to learn about MaaS, well, we started in one of my previous activities with integration of services and also ticketing, integration and clearing, and how to integrate different services and then redistribute, the different incomes to the different service providers. So it's coming from a long time ago, but then in 2015, I think, it was launched this idea called mobility as a service, and then we had this project like IMOVE that you mentioned. I think MaaS is still the right one of the important tool for the future of sustainable mobility. So this, it's something that we have learned in these years. It was very important in projects like IMOVE and other projects to have pilots and to demonstrate that it's not so easy.
Yeah.
To demonstrate that it's not enough to have a great platform that is capable to connect the different services. That's not enough. You need collaboration or integration at other levels. Maybe this was missed or underestimated at that time. Also, the user engagement was not really considered.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy to gain customers from the privately owned cars if you don't offer a similar service or level. And the engagement of the user, again, user acceptance was not really considered at that time. And also the fact that you need to adapt or the different models of mobility as a service to the different contexts. So you cannot build something that is adaptable or that is good for every city, every context, every region. So you need to understand the local context. You need to understand the local stakeholders, what are their needs, but also how they would make a viable business, or they would make money out of this, participating in this MaaS ecosystem. So it was not really considered. And then the different actors that should have been integrated started to say, well, I can be the MaaS integrator. Why this other one should be the MaaS integrator? And then the conflict started. But I think it's possible. Now we are more aware of what is needed to have a successful MaaS. Maybe we don't need to start from the big picture or from the big platform or system, but just look at the local context and look at the needs of specific customers. So maybe you can build a MaaS service for a target group or specific customers, like employees or like I don't know, whatever you can name them, and maybe not for all type of services. And I think now we are moving towards this, and it is understood that the collaboration between public and private again is very important. I see now initiatives in Europe, also in Italy or in France, where at the national level they are building support to expand and to promote mobility as a service. So at least these projects were successful in raising the awareness and educating also, in this case, all the stakeholders.
Now, all these are great points, and I think you rightly mentioned a lot of time we do project and without considering the end customer, and forget the need of the end customer and the adoption of end customer. And I love, because now what you're doing for autonomous mobility, you're putting customer in the center and then building things around it, rather than building a technology first and tell people, now here's the technology, use it. But you're saying, no, We need to bring customer forward and build use case around that. So great. Thanks for sharing that, Guido. And like, you have such a vast experience in this area. We can just talk hours and hours on this topic. I want to come back to your first love, which is autonomous mobility and the automation. And you started your career in automation, then you work automation in public transportation. You work on a couple of projects at UITP, Space, and other, which were on autonomous mobility. But now you are working in PAVE, and here you're not looking after the passenger. You're also looking after the logistic. You're looking after the last mile delivery. Everything about autonomous mobility. It doesn't only mean passenger. So basically, I want to ask you. There are a lot of pilots happening right now on public road for autonomous mobility. The robo taxi, Cruise, Waymo, even Bedu in China, they are doing those projects. Tesla, we already see they have a self-driving vehicle. They claim that this can work. We see a lot of vehicle with autonomous delivery robots, but still there are a lot of doubt about it when it will happen. So my first question is, when can we expect a fully autonomous fleet on the public road? And will it move passenger or goods? So whether we will see more autonomous mobility for vehicle or for goods?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. That's also, you need, it's not easy to say, but what I can say is that a few years ago, probably we were too optimistic. So there were, industry was saying that for 2021 or around, it was the autonomous vehicles were providing services and were available in our streets. But I think it's also good. I mean, the good news is that if you know this this curve of Gartner, now we are with the autonomous vehicles. We are in this phase of disillusionment. But rising towards the actual deployment of it. So in a way, we all know that we have to go through this, apparently. And so now we are starting to the second phase, I would say. And also looking at the tests and the experience that was gained by the different providers in the past year. They also say that we had years of trials that were very useful, that were very important to test the technology. But now it's time to move to the second phase, at least for the fully the autonomous vehicles, so-called level 4, and to start providing the services. So your question, when it will happen, I don't know exactly the date, but it is starting to happen. And as you mentioned, in US already there are robotaxi providing real services. Yeah. Even if in specific hours of the day and specific ODD, operational design domains, but they are there providing the service. And the same in Europe, which is a more robo shuttle oriented market, but probably a robotaxi will come soon as well in Europe. We start to see them. We start to see them operating. In PAVE in Europe, we have this focus on level 4, which means fully or highly automated vehicles without the intervention of a driver, but in specific conditions. So specific geographical conditions called operational design domain, so ODD. So where you know the environment, or the vehicle knows the environment, and also under specific weather conditions and so on. So in these cases, I think they are coming. And this could provide a real service to the users.
To the user.
Yeah. And Yeah, you said rightly that we look at passenger transport, but also at goods. And I think that goods can be even better use case. I mean, in the short term, because it's first of all is highly needed to remove the driver from tracks for business model, of course, and for driver shortage.
Yeah.
And if you think they are, let's say, moving in almost well-defined path in highways or for long distances, from the technological point of view and from this ODD point of view is easier. So this could come earlier, and in fact there are tests and on this direction, and also last mile delivery and urban logistics are quite advanced. So yeah, I would say that we should see soon services in logistics and trucks and autonomous vehicles very linked to public transport.
Very linked to public transport. I think that's the best way to go forward also, rather than having an autonomous car, personalized car. I love your point about this Gartner hype model, because 4-5 years back we were too optimistic that everything will change. And recently Bloomberg published this article, and you must have read that they mentioned that $100 billion is wasted on self-driving vehicle and we are nowhere. But I think when you have more skeptic, things happen, because now you're not working in hype, you are working more in reality, closer to reality. So we are right in the disillusionment phase. Yes. and and things will be reality soon.
We can only go up.
we can go only up. Now it's already too much of downfall, so you don't need to now do much. Now you love this technology, and you're not somebody who just look it from outside, but you go deeper into this technology. And one of the key thing we see in autonomous vehicle or mobility is the use of technology for sensing. And there are two approach which companies are following. One is a LiDAR base, using lidars, and second is this vision based sensing approach, which started actually by Tesla, and Toyota is now following it, and now they are also going for this vision based sensing, using cameras to capture image and process that and make decision of that. You have so much of experience and knowledge in this area. If I ask you which technology will work, and or I would say which technology you are more bullish on, and why? Because if I need to invest in a startup, should I invest in a lidar base or camera base?
Yeah, well, I'm not saying what is best, because also to be neutral in also towards our members, but based on what I know and in my experience, yeah, you say we have the vision based or the sensing through cameras and leaders. Well, I see two aspects. One is safety and the other one is performance. So the camera and the vision based system is is connected and is based on machine learning.
Yeah.
So machine learning is becoming more and more accurate and more sophisticated, of course. But as far as I know, it can make mistakes still. It can mix some of the images and interpretation of images perceived. So it is improving, it is advancing the technology, but it still can make mistakes. On the other hand, it has high performance, because you can it is content based, content sensitive. So with the camera, you know what you see and you can react accordingly.
Yeah.
With the LiDAR is the sort of the opposite. So you don't know what it is, but you 100% detect an obstacle. So in terms of safety is better. because you know that there is an obstacle with high accuracy, but in terms of performance, it's lower because you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And then it means that the vehicle may stop simply because there's no way to detect what is this object and then react accordingly. So you see, you have two different technologies that and you have to balance them, and it depends. It depends the risk you want to take, and depends what you want to invest more, and what is more important for your technology and service.
Again, I would say I never thought these two technology in that sense of safety and performance. And you rightly mentioned with, in fact, there was a funny video showing Tesla was following a horse carriage vehicle because it cannot able to recognize horse carriage vehicle on the road. So it was predicting that vehicle into either a man or as a walking person or a slow car or truck. So for image based, that's another challenge because you need a lot more information to process well. So you have a better performance, but the safety may be compromised. And LiDAR based, you have other, or probably in future we'll have a vehicle which have both, so which can have a high performance and high safety.
Which is very expensive. Then it's yes,
it's always there is a compromise how good you want to make things, but let's see how technology is changing. We are seeing a lot more advancement, and like you said, we are in that phase where things are more closer to reality than hype. So people will come out with something. Now, you although undermine this point, but I feel one of the key or one of the big hurdle for autonomous mobility is the policy framework and regulation. You said it's important, but user is more important. But at the same time, I feel like first question people will ask from the regulation point of view is, if a autonomous vehicle met with an accident, who will be responsible for that? Is it the car? Is it the person who is sitting in the car? Is it the software developer? Who will be responsible for that? And second is, how will you make sure that in case of any cyber security hack and any cyber hack, again, who will be held responsible? We also see the regulation problem for delivery side. There are a lot of these autonomous delivery robots. A lot of company want to make all your delivery with these sidewalk robots, but a lot of cities are banning them because it's encroaching the public area and all. But in the beginning, you rightly mentioned that city and authority need to work with the industry to co-create. Otherwise, it's not possible. Can you share a little bit more about the regulatory framework required to make autonomous mobility success? Because I'm pretty sure you must be going into detail and seeing what are those regulatory aspects which need to be created for industry to succeed in this area. Because if you don't have a good supportive regulatory framework, autonomous mobility will never happen.
No, you are fully right. It's but the regulatory framework is first of all important for safety. I mean, to ensure safety. This is safety first is the priority. And again, when you have a framework, a regulatory framework that ensure safety, then you can also build the trust of people, because people will trust the technology because they feel safe, because this is they can use a service that is safe and is regulated, let's say. In Europe, we have this now we have this recent regulation that was released last July.
Okay.
So actually, in Europe, there is this framework now, regulatory framework. Of course, each member state should adopt and also adapt to their own national context. But at least this regulation now gives the possibility to test and to have on the roads, public roads, level 4 vehicles, which is quite quite a pioneer in this sense, because it allows, maybe it's the regulation is more advanced than the technology. So at least at as a European framework, so it is possible to test, and this framework establish also the different use cases that you can test to get the type approval of the vehicle. So, and there are some specifications that the provider, the manufacturers needs to follow, and to test against use cases like highway chauffeur or shuttles or robotaxi, hub-to-hub, and so on. So it's important, the regulation, because this framework can reassure the users that there are safety specifications that they can trust. And also gives the possibility to the industry to test their technology, to try their technology in real context. There are also some more and more living labs in Europe, at least, where the industry can test the technology and try all the different functionalities, and also use these living labs to get the approval, the type approval, so the certification. So it's very important, because so far it was left to the decision of the city to give the permission to test the vehicle for a limited period in a limited area. So it was very, very limited for the industries. You know, they need to try and test the technology. But that's a very good advancement from the European side.
No, I mean, Europe is always much advanced compared to other city or other countries in the world regarding the regulation. Some of the forward-looking regulation come from Europe. No, I'll happy to put this in the show note so that people can access and see that how Europe is regulating, because I know there was some regulation came out in China, some state, or there was a federal regulation in US too on autonomous vehicle, in Canada too. And everybody's trying to now create some kind of a regulation. And I think that's an important point, when each country should look at what others are doing and try to bring some good aspect from each other and and it should be flexible. The innovation can never happen under a stringent regulatory framework, because then you can't do much. So you have to make it more flexible so the innovation can happen and grow.
Exactly.
Now, one of the important point, which from UITP side also and otherwise, one of the key point for autonomous mobility is that it can be a big boon or it can be a big bane for the city, depending on its uses. And you rightly mentioned that the autonomous mobility for public transport is good. We have a good use case of robotaxi. When it's shared, it's good for society. But at the same time, the self-driving cars will be kind of a nightmare for city, because everybody will try to own a self-driving car, and they will be running 24/7, because you don't need to worry about anything else. What should we do to make sure that the autonomous mobility can help city rather than destroy our cities? And how do you see the evolution of autonomous buses? Do you see there'll be a big push for autonomous buses, the big buses, or you see they will be the last one to come on the road?
Yeah, thank you for the question. This is, I mean, it's the question, because we need to. I think that the autonomous mobility, so it's mobility. We need to make it autonomous in the sense that the mobility in the city should be optimized, and optimizing the mobility in the city means to make it more efficient in terms of congestion, in terms of use of the space of the city, and the livability of the city itself. And I think the city authorities know this very well, that they need to reach and to achieve this goal. So it's important that the autonomous vehicles are introduced in the right way. In the right way means they don't have to fulfill the city with additional cars, additional vehicles. They need to provide complementary service to the existing mass transit, to improve the mass transit where it needs to be improved. And only in this way, then you can really have efficiency in mobility. And again, if you put the customer at the center, then you will start thinking about what is needed for the different categories of users. How can you provide a personalized service that is not, let's say, the private car, but can also be the use of an automated car, automated robot taxi that then brings you to the station, and then you take the train and go. Or maybe in some cases it is better to have a door-to-door autonomous mobility. So this tailored service combined with the general interest, that is the big challenge for me, and where autonomous vehicles can really help, because it is removing some costs and is bringing some improvement in terms of efficiency. So you can use these vehicles all the time. They don't need to be parked, because as we all know, 90-95% of the time a car is just parked. So it's an asset that you don't use, so why don't you use it? With an autonomous vehicle, you could use it at the best. And then we come to the efficiency of the existing public transport, maybe with autonomous buses. So, and the autonomous buses are a very good business case for automation, because again, you remove, in this case, the driver, which is the highest cost for the operators, and you can use these services in confined environment. So again, it is easier from the technological point of view. Just think, for example, of an autonomous BRT, bus rapid transit.
So you have a
segregated, you have a segregated lane. It's the first step for automation, actually. This could be a very, very good use case. And again, if this is optimized in terms of mobility, so improving the efficiency of the current public transport, make it more autonomous, plus complementing it with other more flexible and on-demand transport. But
No, I agree with you. In fact, I was thinking the same use case is because there's a lot of city especially in North America now, looking BRT as a solution. You don't have that much of passenger demand to go for trains. So other option could be just to build the BRT lane and put these buses. And when you have this dedicated right of way, so probably removing driver can be one of the options, because at the same time they have a huge shortage of driver. I was reading yesterday in one of the city, I can't name, but then in one of the city they mentioned that the driver can earn up to 130 to 150K annually, the bus driver, which is a very good salary. At the same time, they still couldn't able to find drivers, so there's a huge shortage. So it can solve both the purpose. Thank you so much, Guido. I think we really had a good conversation about MaaS, autonomous mobility, about you. Now, to end this podcast, we have this rapid fire question round. And the idea for this question round is to learn a little more about you and what you think. And I have this 5 questions. You need to just answer them quickly. If you are ready, I'll just start.
Okay, ready. Let's go.
It's not very difficult, so you will enjoy it. Now, my first question is, if you were not in technology or public transit space, what other profession you would have selected?
Okay, this is quite easy. I would love to be a pianist.
Pianist.
To be to play piano in these clubs, making concerts. So that was
That's
next
a
life.
past life, huh? Hidden talent you never shared. So next time when we'll meet, you need to pay.
So that's for my next life.
Now, you have traveled around the world because of different projects and all, and you've been in so many different cities. If I ask you, which is your favorite city in the world?
Well, that's a very difficult question
See,
because there are so
the
many
easy and the difficult
beautiful,
now.
yes, so many beautiful cities, and they are beautiful for different aspects.
Yeah,
well, can I say two?
you can go
Because,
for two. Yeah.
okay, thanks. Because one is from my country, Italy. So I would say Naples.
Ah, okay.
For many reasons, this is a very special city, and yeah, we can spend hours to talk about it. And the second one is Singapore.
Singapore.
I
Any particular
like,
reason?
I like very much the dynamism and the innovation that they bring in all sectors, and yeah, how advanced they are. Of course, they are a small country, a very confined country. It's possible, but it's every time I go there, I say, wow.
It's one of my favorite too. I never been to Nepalese, so I can't share much, but I heard they got the best pizza in the world. So that's
Yes,
my plan to
definitely.
be there
You
and
have to.
try.
You have to.
But Singapore is one of the good city to see in terms of land use planning and urban planning, and as well as the use of public transport. Now, if you feel my last question was difficult, now you have the most difficult question to answer, which is, which city has the best transit network in the world?
Okay. Okay. No. Yes. Without looking at let's say the actual figures, I would say London or Singapore.
London, Singapore.
Yeah. Again. So for what I experienced.
It's everybody's favorite. London is everybody's favorite, and it is one of the good public transit network, the buses and the train and all.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next question is, which is your favorite startup in the mobility sector or in autonomous mobility space?
Okay, interesting one. So without making any name, but I normally like those startups who are capable to develop or to create applications on top of technology or services or systems that are doing something else. Like, for example, you take autonomous vehicles. Okay, they are supposed to move people from A to B, but with this technology, with these vehicles, you have a lot of data. You can do many things. You can put sensors in these vehicles and collect data from the city, for example. And you can use this for monitoring the streets of the cities, or yeah, for whatever application that is not mobility. So this type of startups that think about, and this is how smartphones were created.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's quite interesting what you said. It's basically thinking out of box. So don't go with the same use case. If you are collecting data through autonomous mobility, can it be used for checking the road conditions or collecting data about the city network and the crowding level and providing other feedback about the commercial opportunities? So there can be a lot of other things which can be done.
Yes.
No, I really like your point. It's quite interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Now, my last question is, if you can change one thing in life, what would it be?
In my life?
Yeah, in your life, if God give you power and say, okay, change one thing in life, what do you want to change?
Well, frankly, just nothing.
Nothing.
I wouldn't change. I would, yeah, I like everything I did so far and everything I have. I mean, I could change and tell you I would like to be the richest man in the world, but for what I have, I feel the richest man in the world. So that's fine.
To be honest, you are. If you feel there is nothing need to be changed, you are content with life, and that's about to being the richest in the world. Not about money and not about fame and all. It's about how you feel happy with yourself. No, thanks for sharing that. And I agree with you. We can do a lot of complaints about life, but finding everything what you got is what we have. So we should be happy with what we have. So thanks for sharing, Guido. I mean, I really enjoyed our conversation. And like I said, some of the perspective you share, I never thought from that point of view. So really appreciate giving those new angles and new perspective. And I never knew that you always want to become an automation person, and you were in the wrong place. Now you're back in the right place.
Thank you very much, Jaspal. I really enjoyed it. It was a real pleasure to be with you today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this podcast. We'll be inviting some other inspiring guests in the coming week. You can subscribe to this podcast online to get the notification for the next episode. If you like this podcast, please don't forget to give us a 5-star rating, as it will help us to spread our message. If you have any feedback or suggestion for this podcast, please do write to us at info@mobility-innovators.com. I look forward to see you next time. Thank you.